Today, we're talking about The Grass Arena by John Healey. It's a memoir which has some very interesting questions about chess and chess players. Let's get into it. The first thing to know is that this is really a story about an alcoholic. Now, in my appreciation of alcoholism, I think it's mostly a genetic thing. I had a friend, now dead, who we were unable to help, right? And this guy too, from a very early age, finds himself descending into a spiral of alcoholism. And, what's interesting about this book is that it's not a typical kind of sad story where it's like, oh, this is how far I had to fall before I saved myself from alcoholism. Or it's not a social commentary. There's not a lot of literary allusions. What it is just a description of the people and events that took place in this period in this dude's life, let's say between 16 and 30, where he is in and out of prison, in and out of various attempts to try to get him sober, right? And that world, his friends are like losing a leg, they're losing an eye, they got some weird kidney problem, they got wet brain. I didn't even know about wet brain. Okay. And in that way, it's a very interesting and provocative telling of the story because it's not being sugar-coated and it's just a view into this world. The first takeaway, I think, is lock up your house, my friend. These people, I assume, still exist, and they aren't trying to steal a big Grand Theft Auto. No, they're just trying to steal your bicycle or something just to make enough money to get a drink for that night. Okay, and they will do anything. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Second, maybe Ozempic or something is going to soften or maybe get rid of the problem entirely, which would, I think, dramatically shift how our society works if these people aren't around, right? It's a huge strain on society to have a bunch of dudes hanging around in the park throwing bottles and getting in fights all the time, right? Okay. The chess part of this story, which is more interesting for us, occurs when he's about 30. He's hanging out in prison, okay? And he's been in and out of prison. He's had various dry spells because you can't be drinking in prison. And at no point is dude oh, I'm really trying to stop this time. No, at no point. They usually get out and his friends meet him because they know he's going to get about 4 pounds when he gets out of prison. And they're like, well, let's go drinking with them 4 pounds, And it's a real problem for that crew that lives in the park if you don't share your booze, right? So anyways, it's a constant cycle that him and his friends are in. And it's a weird friend group because people will go away. They'll go away for long stints in prison and come back, And the law doesn't want to deal with them, of course. It's not like you're teaching something to them when they're in prison. So the law has no idea what to do with these people. It exists outside the bounds of their own understanding, right? The law's understanding. Chess comes in this book in a really interesting way. Around 30, he's hanging out in prison, and some dude is playing, and they teaches him a little bit about the game. Very soon, he becomes obsessed. And with this obsession, quickly comes to the understanding that he can't both drink and play chess. So he stops drinking. After all that time, after no attempt previously to ever stop drinking before this moment. And it's very interesting. Danny Wrench's book, which I reviewed, about a month ago, has the subtitle, How Chess Saved My Life. But it's not like this book. In this book, you could argue chess really did save the guy's life. In Danny's case, I love the book, but I didn't like the subtitle because it implied that chess was what got him out of his cult. But in fact, it was the cult that provided Danny with a very beautiful chess education as a kid. And when I think about chess players, I don't really think, I can't think of many I would describe as ever, chess having saved their soul or their life. But where it did make a lot of sense to me is when he is talking about chess being a jealous lover, that instantly hit a chord with me, in that I know there have been various moments in my life where I had the opportunity to do some kind of self-harm with drugs or alcohol, and I refrained because of chess. Right? It was like, well, I got this other little interesting thing of self-discovery going on, and that's why I don't want to do the self-discovery that self-harm often is trying to attain, right? Or it's like a social bonding thing a lot of the time as well. So then I think about people I know. I think that is true to a certain extent, though there's been so many alcoholics who play chess. Oh my God, especially the Russians in the generation that were a little bit older than me that came to the United States. So many alcoholics among that group. So it's not even the case that all great chess players, are abstaining from booze or something like that. It's definitely not true. Jan Elvis, the only reason that guy stopped drinking is his kidney burst or something, and now he can't drink anymore. Something like that had happened for a guy like that to stop drinking. But the question that's interesting is, for me anyways, is does chess provide some kind of form of basic discipline which keeps your life on the straighter path? For me, I would say that's kind of true. When I read the story, I was like, oh, is this like a thing where chess is like Friday Night Lights? Friday Night Lights, the show with the football, where kids basically are abstaining from self-harm so that they can get their aggression out. They can hurt other people on the football field, but also have this experience on this football team. Now, the big difference. On a football team, you don't have to be a star or anything to participate in the team's success and failure and adventure. Chess, of course, is a very lonely operation, and it's a cruel world where you're going to lose terribly, and you're going to be in some foreign city, and you're just going to be sitting there with no money, having lost the game, right? And that's a little bit what happens to this guy, right? So he gets the discipline, he pursues the game, admirably gets up to like 2,000 or 2,100, somewhere around there. Has a couple good events, but it's a kind of interesting situation where chess isn't going to be able to fill his life in the way that his obsession wants it to. And I think that's very true for many chess players, is they got the bug, they pursue it, and then it's hard for chess to complete them. They need money. Can they get money through chess? Can they get social needs met? Right? Are people going to accept them as chess players? That's a whole thing that goes around it. And I get a lot of people asking me emails where like, Jesse, do you think chess is a religion? And no, but there's interesting aspects of religion, right? So, for example, when I'm doing my morning study, I sometimes feel like I'm some kind of Talmudic scholar, bobbing my head up and down over an ancient script or something. Right? Trying to penetrate into some deeper truth. And that's what's giving me order to my life, this pursuit. Right? It's not like there's not other things going on in my life, but like that is a fundamental searching that is happening almost every day that's keeping me on some kind of path that if you want, you can call spiritual. I just want to address this question about religion and spirituality. I think it's very possible to talk that way, but it's hard for me to say more than that, right? It's like, it's interesting to talk about, and I think there's definitely a kernel of truth, but it's very hard to talk about it as more than that. It's hard to put more words on it that make sense, at least to me, right? And that's why this book is interesting. One of the reasons is like, oh, you're showing me something about myself and about chess players where chess is providing a structure and discipline to your life in the beauty of its pursuit, right? So that's why I think this book is interesting. I'm going to be I'm on the hunt, for other people who've had a true conversion experience, but it doesn't have to be like that. Like in my case, it's a very subtle thing that is guiding my life, where I'm not going to become an alcoholic or something. I don't think I'm genetically disposed anyway, but it's something that's keeping me on this path. So tell me your thoughts and comments below. The Glass Arena by John Healey, a very good book, especially when it comes to the description, the pure description. No social commentary, no, oh, I was saved, I was trying to be saved, this is how far I had to fall. None of that garbage. Just a straight description of these dudes who go in and out of prison, losing limbs, all kinds of crazy things happening to them. There it is.